Are you ready to dive into the mysteries of the unknown? Tune into the electrifying X-Zone radio TV show hosted by the one and only Rob McConnell.
I'm Rob McConnell, and get ready for a mind-bending journey through the unexplained phenomenon that surrounds us all. From UFO encounters to cryptids, ghosts, and everything in between, we've got it covered here in the X-Zone.
Rob McConnell, the seasoned investigator and renowned radio personality, brings you the most compelling interviews with top experts, authors, and experiencers from around the world. Each episode is an unforgettable exploration into the depths of the extraordinary.
That's right, X-Zone Nation. Join me every week as we open the door to the supernatural and explore the strange and amazing stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew.
And it's not just radio anymore. With our groundbreaking TV show, you can now witness the sessions unfold right before your eyes. From chilling reenactments to captivating visuals, prepare yourself for a multimedia experience like never before.
With a legacy spanning over 2 decades, the X-Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, is your ultimate source for mind-blowing entertainment and thought-provoking discussions. Join our growing community of truth seekers as we continue to unlock the world's mysteries.
So, why wait? Step into the X-Zone and embark on a journey that will challenge your beliefs, ignite your curiosity, and keep you on the edge of your seat.
Remember, X-Zone Nation, the truth is out there, and it's waiting for you right here on the X-Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't miss a minute of the action.
Tune in now on your favorite radio station or visit xzoneradiotv.com to join the adventure. The X-Zone Radio TV show with Rob McConnell, where reality meets the unknown.
The X-Zone Radio TV show, unraveling the secrets of the universe, one episode at a time. For more information, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com.
The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 o'clock Eastern, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, on Tuber, and streamed around the world on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, from our studios here in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, it's very simple, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. Tonight on the X-Zone, we welcome a woman whose life work is rooted in compassion, spirituality, unity, and transformational leadership. SANDE HART is an international speaker, author, interfaith activist, and founder of multiple global initiatives dedicated to empowering women, cultivating peace, and building bridges across cultural and faiths. Her work challenges us to rethink how we show up in the world, not with fear or division, but with courage, empathy, and purposeful action. Her website is sandehart.com, and that's SANDEHART.com. And tonight, Sandy joins us to share her journey, her insights, and her bold vision for a more compassionate humanity. Joining me now is Sande Hart. And Sandy, welcome back to the X Zone. Always great seeing you, my friend.
I love being here. Thank you. And it's a privilege to be back.
Sandy, for the listeners who may not have met you before, either on our radio show or now on our TV radio show, how do you describe the work that you do in the world of today?
The work that I've always really been doing has really been to advance new solutions to old problems. That requires us asking different questions. And the more I've done that, the more I've realized the critical importance, the clarion call, especially right now, for women to recognize our archetypal blueprint of who we are as women. When we remember that life comes through us, we are, nature embodied as the human body, we begin to step into a role of responsibility without blaming, without shaming, without victimizing. All right. And so what we identify that as at the Global Women's Village, which is the body of my work, is contained in the Global Women's Village, is that we perpetuate this concept of a woman who futures a new paradigm.
Why do you think throughout history, women have always received, if you'll excuse the expression, a bum deal?
Well, there's a lot of evidence to why that is. You can go back to the invention of the alphabet, where prior to this era, women were perceived as that relationship with nature. We were honored through architectural digs, even 120 years ago, were unearthed massive communities, and they all worshipped goddess. There are goddess statues everywhere. And this is our early Mesopotamia, also found in South America as well. So we know that women and the embodied woman was seen as the giver of life and the holder of wisdom. And we have all kinds of evidence to that effect. But then comes the written word. And at this time, systems of domination had started to take hold, and men started taking the control now as the scribe. And in comes formalized religion. And now I've got these scribes who are transcribing what the king is telling them to write. So it's coming through the lens of this man, and here comes the power over paradigm. The system of domination begins. And it's written through the lens of men. And over time, historically, we can see the dismantling of the divine feminine. And that also means in men.
Why do you think organizations like the church was so against women? Isn't it Mother Earth? Like you said, it's women that give birth to both the male and the female. Absolutely. I look at history in a very funny way then. It seems to me that whenever there has been a woman in power, the countries do a lot better. They're not war-torn, they're not war-ridden, but they advance socially, economically, and industrially. For example, the Queen of England, Mary Queen of Scots, Joan of Arc, what's her name? Cleopatra. And the list goes on and on and on. You know, the Iron Maiden, the former Prime Minister of Britain, Margaret Thatcher. So why do you think men did what they did? Was it because they were afraid of losing what little power that they had, because I know as a 21st century man that when my wife talks, it's usually something important, and I am always willing to listen, and I'm not afraid to say, you know what, you're right. Thank you. I didn't think of it that way. Or, so I don't understand why men have to be so chauvinistic when it comes to recognizing that your partner may be smarter than you and that you're part of a team, not a singular entity working on a relationship.
Let's remember, and first of all, I don't think men deserve such a bad rap. I think that there's as many compassionate men in the world, yet there's this this domination trance that we are all walking in. It's a very complex system that we have been duped into following, right? We're gliding through this era after era of the way things are, this construct, this configuration of man over woman, and man over animal, man over nature, and by man. And so that system of domination that was really kind of crystallized and cemented back at when I brought up the invention of the alphabet was the world's religions. It was, the original and the largest original monotheistic religion of Judaism, right? And so these, again, the scribes are men, and they're taking the word of men. And yeah, there was this this kind of this overbalance of men finding their way in the world too. Now, how are we still having this conversation time and time again? Why do we keep recycling the same problems, looking a little different year after year? And let's just, not even throughout history, but the last 130 years since our suffragist grandmothers took to the streets. Why, and then our feminist mothers and grandmothers and aunts and my sisters, no more toys for the boys. What isn't sticking, and how is it in the United States here, dare I say, how fragile that is, how easy it is for that to roll back. I've been doing an awful lot of research over the last 2 years specifically on this, as well as paying attention to the patterns of women's leadership for 2 decades. Yet the last 2 years, what I've been doing is asking these questions, crowdsourcing them across 45, 50 different sectors, ages 13 to 94. I want to talk to everybody, say, why do you think this is? And the consensus is largely that women believe it too. We believe that there's something at this granular level that we bought into this too, right? Women will stay quiet in a room full of men generally. Women will say, I just have something to say. Not all women. There's many powerful women out there who are anchored in their confidence.
Yes.
Generally speaking, the critical mass of women who haven't stopped to even question the assumption of what they think of themselves will use words like I'm just this, I'm just a mom. And so we have our work to do. And to answer your first question, that's my work. That's where I focus my chisel, is right there, and really opening up that conversation and saying, why aren't we, solving this problem? Why isn't the resilience? Why are we still having this conversation? How come the Dobbs decision in the United States was rolled back? Women's autonomy and of course all these other fragile things we took for granted, like freedom of speech. Right. And so how is that also fragile? Because we haven't accepted our role as nurturers of this planet and one another because of that system of domination, because of that configuration of power over.
Sandy, stand by. You and I have to take our very first break. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Sandy Hart. Her website, www.sandyhart.com. And Sandy is SANDEHART.com. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, and we'll be back after the short break, so don't go away. And we're back. Sandy Hart is my special guest, www.sandyhart.com. Sandy, what pivotal moment in your life set you on the path towards the interfaith leadership and compassionate activism that you do?
Thank you for asking that question, because it brings me back to the morning of 9/11.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm laying in bed at 7:30 or 7 o'clock in California. I'm, just stirring to get my kids to school, my middle-aged kids to school, watch the television, see what everybody else is seeing. Now, I will tell you, I went to bed as the director of sales and marketing for a major home builder. I was born and raised Jewish. My kids went to religious school just so I could give them a foundation, but we were not a religious family. And I also really didn't have any knowledge or interest, for that matter, in religion. Other than I love people and I want to know what makes them tick. But other than that, it wasn't on my radar. But then that morning, by the time my eyes were fully open and I saw what everybody saw, I heard "gather women." And I'm like, where is that coming from? And what am I supposed to do with women once I gather them? And I said yes. An impulse in me just said yes. And my 2 feet hit the ground. And then I said, what did I just say yes to? And it didn't take more than a month or two before I found myself in a community dialogue that I was invited into by my rabbi, who saw something in me that I clearly didn't see, but he pointed me out and said, come into these interfaith dialogues.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the women. And we convened in my living room. We called ourselves Sarah, the Mother of All Nations. And we started talking. And we're like, how can we show up as the women in our community through our highest and our deepest value systems? That's what I was interested. So that morning was what woke me up. And then the whole trajectory of my life since then changed. I lasted 6 months in the corporate world. I was using different language. I was rubbed with all the this corporate lingo and corporate structure. I just shifted like that. My DNA literally rearranged.
You emphasize the concept of compassion in action. What does that look like in everyday life?
Well, first, understanding what compassion means. So you can have a vague understanding that compassion means, you're kind and considerate to somebody in need. There's actually a generally agreed upon understanding in the compassion industry, if you will, that the definition of compassion is the ability and the willingness to see the suffering in others and turn your gaze to them and have a desire or an impulse to do something about it. Now, that something about it is entirely up to you and your belief system. It might be to reach into your pocket and help them out. It might be to reach down and pull them up. It may be to go home and sit and pray for them. It's that moment between acknowledging the suffering and the desire to do something about it. There is where the compassion lies. And so compassionate action can take many different forms, but there's 3 of them. Help someone up, help someone out, sit down and pray for them. And there are 8 billion other ways of expressing compassionate action.
So where or how does compassion differ from, let's say, empathy?
Empathy is the definition of empathy is to really just feel sorry for somebody. There's that action component. There's that. I consider it a verb. I consider compassion a verb. I can consider it. There's an action to follow. And even, the importance of compassion is so important because even Darwin, in Origins of Man and many of his journals, wrote that he didn't ever really say that or mean that that survival is of the fittest. And if he did, what he was referring to as fittest was the most compassionate and adaptable. That's what it means to be fit. So going back to our earlier conversation, rethinking where we are right now in this evolutionary time and the language we're using, compassion is to be fit.
You're known for building bridges across cultures and faiths. Now, what have you learned about common threads connecting people when it comes to religion and faith?
I'm sorry, what was ask that question one more time. I didn't hear you. We had
All
a
right.
little service.
Okay. You're known
ET.
for yeah, you're known for building bridges across cultures and faith. Now, what have you learned about the common threads connecting people in their faith and cultures?
Yeah, at the core, we are all the same. The golden rule is a real thing. Do unto others as you'll have
Mhm.
done unto them, and we all believe it. Yet when we sit in the room together, and have a difficult conversation, we have a dialogue that is against your own personal belief system. To remember that in the moment, that is the difficult part. What I learned about convening and building bridges with people who are different from one another and pulling together the community, because that's what we did. We pulled together Muslims and Jews during the midst of the Lebanon-Israeli conflict. We pulled together all these different faith traditions whenever there was strife in their community. And we did an awful lot with the Muslim community to give them space to share, the truth of their religion, and that it was hijacked. And so what I discovered the key is to preface this with rules of engagement, with circle principles of listen for understanding. If you notice you're being triggered, stop and ask yourself why. Ask questions, not judgments. And also, this is my favorite, and I learned this myself, is if you're sitting at a table and or there's any reconciliation process, I invite people to say, what is the greatest misconception of your tradition? So I'm going to be the one to lay it on the table, and then we can have a conversation about it. And that diffuses everybody. Yeah.
Well, then, what are the biggest obstacles preventing communities, for example, from working together, in harmony? Why is there so much friction in communities when it seems that the answer to this is just very simple?
Yeah, that's universal across any spectrum of any divisiveness, and it's fear. It's fear. I'm afraid if I learn about you, or I open my mind to you, or I consider what you're saying to me, I might lose my thought. I might buy into it. It might threaten my religion, because my religion is so deeply woven into my family, and there's safety in my family. And if I take my eye off of that, just glance over here, I'm threatening my family. I mean, this all runs really deep. So it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Is it possible here in the year of 2025, we need to either have religions and religious philosophies keep up with the time, or has the time come when we need to say so long to religion?
I think that, the fastest growing identity by a recent Pew study, and now this is in the United States, but I'm going to say it's probably accurate in West as well. And that is the fastest growing identity, according to religious research, is the none box, None. People we're losing our youth in droves to organized religion. They're moving more into the unity or Unitarian or interspiritual communities, because that makes sense to them, and there's a lot more freedom there. The rigid edges of religion definitely have been designed to keep us safe, give us blueprints, but along the way, it's creating lines in the sand, and that's never good. It's the same with nationalism. It's the same with any other man-made construct. But when we remember the essence of Christianity, the essence of Islam, the essence, when we can go down to that level, we'll all be fine. We won't need to we won't be using religion. We won't be manipulating faith. We won't be, and it's all for control. It really is a control mechanism, right?
But if the construct was originally created by a deity, how can we humans change the desires or the design that the deity created?
Okay, so this may trigger some. I believe we created that deity. We don't know what the deity is. We just feel like we have the really strong essence we know in our heart. That doesn't mean what I know in my heart is true for you.
True.
Yeah. And that when we can accept that, then we'll all get along. It'll just really lower the temperature on the planet right now. Literally, I'm sure too, and the vibration that's heightened right now. Yeah, I mean, we don't need that extra tension. Religion is designed to keep us safe, give us morals, a moral backbone, help us in times of difficulty, to know what to do when a loved one dies, and how to navigate difficult things, also celebrate beautiful things, right? But all of our ascended masters, all of our ascended masters focus on love.
Love is the answer, and love is the miracle.
Yeah.
Sandy, stand by. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. X-Zone Nation, Sandy Hart is my special guest. www.sandehart.com. And if you'd like to listen to any of our past episodes of the X-Zone radio TV show going back, I think there's about 15 or 20 years worth of archives at www.xzbn.net. And it doesn't cost anything. Really, you don't have to pay a membership. You don't have to give a credit card, nothing. You just go to xzbn.net. The X-Zone is there. Let me see. A Different Perspective with Kevin Randall is there. Mission Evolution with Gwildy Wiaka is there. All the shows that we produce here at Relmar are there with our compliments, and that's at www.xzbn.net. Sandy and I return on the other side of this break as we continue broadcasting from our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Tuber, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and streamed around the world on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ, streaming us at classic1220.ca. Don't go away. Are you ready for a tale that will leave you on the edge of your seat? Get ready to dive into the gripping memoir by Bart Sibrel titled Moon Man. Bart Sibrel takes you on a heart-pounding journey, unmasking the truth behind America's famous Apollo missions. Prepare yourself for hair-raising encounters with agents from the U.S. government's top secret agencies. In Moon Man, Sibrel fearlessly reveals his real-life espionage adventures, shining a light on one of the CIA's best-kept secrets. Brace yourself for shocking revelations, including Sibrel's discovery of privately recorded audio exposing an Apollo astronaut's chilling plot, a plot orchestrated by the CIA. That's right. As Sibrel unveils this groundbreaking evidence, it becomes clear that there is much more to the Apollo missions than meets the eye. Could it be that we've been deceived all along? Moon Man is a gripping page-turner that challenges everything you thought you knew. It's a mind-bending journey into the unknown, where the line between truth and fiction becomes blurred. Don't miss this opportunity to uncover the secrets hidden for decades. Let your curiosity guide you as you join Bart Sibrel on his quest to find the truth. Moon Man, available now at Sibrel.com. That's Sibrel.com. Prepare to have your beliefs shaken to the very core. And welcome back, everyone. Sandy Hart is my guest this hour. Her website is sandyhart.com. Sandy, how can individuals develop the courage to actually step up into leadership during these turbulent times? It must be hard, especially for those who question their ability to stand up and instead of say but I am.
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, let's start with the acceptance that we're all leaders. Everyone's watching us with everything we do, right? We are modeling our belief system, and that way we are our own leader. So how are we leading with integrity? right? How are we leading with our soul's purpose? I don't think it's easy. It's as easy as saying, I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to step into this. I think it takes work. We have to look at ourselves. We have to have an honest conversation with ourselves. We have to question assumptions of the things we believe. We have to get back in touch with our bodies, right? We have to remember that our body is part of who we are. That when I feel a gut ache, it's telling me something. When I'm getting a cold at the same time of being stressed, it's telling me something. When I'm feeling a nudge or an impulse or an idea pops in, I'm not going to talk myself out of it. I'm going to question it. And I think we do this, and this was the whole premise of the Liminal Odyssey, or it turned out to be, that we slow down to the speed of awe and wonder about who we are, and we take a pause and we pay attention to what inspires us, what makes us come alive, what we don't like doing. And that'll show up in who we are, how we walk in the world. And that's how we become a really responsible leader. So the question is, you're a leader. Are you walking in a trance and contributing to the good of the world, or perpetuating those systems that were never set up for us in the first place? Yeah, that's how we. Yeah.
You know, over the years of having you on the show, you speak a lot about the rise of the sacred feminine. How do you define that?
The rise of the sacred feminine is that original blueprint of who we all are, right? Men and women have a divine feminine spark, a divine masculine spark. There's other language like lunar feminine and solar feminine, and there's other yin and yang, and there's different ways. Because divine masculine, divine feminine, those can be charged and triggering words if you really don't know what they mean. But when you're in your divine feminine, you're being creative, you're listening carefully, you're being compassionate. That doesn't mean you're soft or you're, modeling feminine behaviors. It's different than looking feminine like a woman. It's being the divine feminine of who you are. And women have been taught that is wrong and dirty and should be done, just amongst ourselves. And yet, look at art. If you're an artist, you're living through your divine feminine. That's that creativity, right? That's the synthesizing everything that's going on around you. And when you're being strategic and planning and organizing, that's the divine masculine in you. I've been told I'm a really good balance of both, because I can be a visionary and I can execute a plan. Not everybody can do both. I happen to be kind of strong in both. But the rise that's coming up right now is, we are really in an accelerated evolutionary time right now. Science has proven that. Cosmologists are proving that right now. The megahertz of this planet are raised beyond measure consistently for like a week now. So you might be feeling a pull, you might be feeling angst, you might be losing sleep, you might be just really grouchy, or you might just be wildly creative and you've got more energy than you know what to do with. That's being part of the world. That's being part of the frequency. And so it's good news. It's good news. And it's also good news for that patriarchy, because that fear that you invited me to bring up, that fear condition is of that thrashing tail of the dying dinosaur, patriarchy's last stand, is fear at holding on to every bit of power it has, because it's not really standing a chance right now. It's hard to imagine living, but we are.
In your interfaith work that you do, Sandy, what misunderstandings do you encounter most frequently between a religious or spiritual group?
Well, first, generally speaking, when someone who doesn't understand what interfaith work is, they think it's being interfaithful yourself, like me, believing in all the religions and living as a multi-religious person. Mm-hmm. Interfaith work is really it's really focused on recognizing the divine in everybody through their respective traditions and religions. And spiritual work is much more vague. You know, it encompasses
Yeah.
all types of modalities that are not anchored in one traditional view. One that then also has the components of those rigid edges and follow me because it's my way and fitting into that box. And spirituality just blows open the doors.
Well, then what responsibilities do spiritual leaders have in promoting unity rather than division? Because we see this a lot these days. How do we turn the wheel around?
Yeah, I'm seeing it happen everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. We are the critical. We are the majority, and not so silent anymore, right? And social media and technology and has really made that very visible. So we do it because we're living it. We don't have to think about doing anything. We simply have to be it, and we become it when we do our work to heal, and we say, what is my sacred task? What am I really here to do? I only have a certain amount of time on this planet.
Yeah.
What am I going to do here? And how am I going to leave this place better than I found it? And that to me is how we live a spiritual life. And we don't have to think about, what are the steps to get there? Well, the steps are to heal, do our healing. As soon as we start believing that all we have to do is be us in the highest integrity that we are. What is our soul asking of us? What do our passions meet the needs in the world? What makes you come alive? When we do that, we'll heal. We'll all heal.
It seems very easy. It seems very logical. And yet, why can't the majority of people look at it and say, ta-da, there's the answer. It's plain and simple. Is it because, Sandy, it could be too simple? Because if things are too simple, society thinks, oh, there's got to be a catch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it is that elegant, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very natural. And why aren't more subscribing to it? I think more and more are waking up to it. More and more people are going, what is going on? And I don't know how to process this. And unfortunately, suicide rate among young people are skyrocketing. They don't know what to do with this. They know that they don't fit in, and I don't blame them for not feeling like they don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't fit in because they're our future. This is what we have ahead of us. Things are different. There's this system, this pervasive, insidious system that has, again, I'll use this expression, the domination trance. I mean, look at what we're flooded with all day long on television. Please turn off television. Well, get your news where you get it, but pay attention to when you're watching a commercial.
Yeah.
That, products that'll make you thinner, better, happier, smarter. Did I say thinner? No, we don't need that stuff, but it's over consumerism. Right? And it's the same as religion. Look up here, look at the unknown, the invisible entities telling you what to do when your heart and soul are telling you otherwise. If your heart and soul are telling you that's your answer, do that. But so many are waking up to this. Well, wait a minute. I've done the work. I am becoming aware of who I am. And that rub, that which our young don't know how to manage, but there's a lot of help out there for them now, but not enough, is to say, you're right. This world doesn't work for us. And that's what my work is. We're about not creating a new system, but dismantling the system that's there and futuring a new paradigm. And here's the thing. We don't know where we're going. We know we're on our way. I don't want to poison the water hole when I get there. So what am I? I got to do my work. We don't know what that new system is going to look like, but this isn't working. And that's why everything's falling apart.
Sandy, stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. Exo Nation, Sandy Hart is our special guest. SANDEHART.com. Before I go to break, I would just like to remind everyone that on Friday, November the 21st, we are having an Alien Invasion Day special here on the Exo. Apparently, according to Dr. Avery Loeb at Harvard, This is when the 3i, this mystical, this unexplained intergalactic traveling piece of rock or spaceship, is going to be within the area of planet Earth. And according to many out there, this is when the aliens are going to land or invade. Or is it up till the 12th of December? Nobody knows. But so we thought we'd take a look at it and bringing some of the top experts in the world to help us make a decision. Not in a way that we force feed the audience, but we'll give you both sides of the coin, and you, the audience, will make up your own mind. X-Zone, www.xzbn.net is where you can get all the past shows, and I will be back with Sandy on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
NASA has confirmed that they have evidence of life beyond Earth.
This discovery is confirmed.
Well, let's see, we've had visitors again. Yeah. Anything worth mentioning?
I filmed 16 minutes on March 5th, 1994, 16 minutes of broad daylight UFO activity.
The other side, the spirit realm, is a parallel dimension which runs, which coexists with ours. And what spirits are doing is they're sending waves of frequency from that dimension to ours.
The government instituted the truth embargo. The government poured disinformation and misinformation into this field, encouraging hoaxes and any other foolishness. It created a truth vacuum that naturally was going to be filled with theories and assertions and other stuff.
The oil oligarchs and the banks and the people who are making decisions that are leading us down the wrong path.
They've undermined the research, intimidated and threatened witnesses. The government is responsible for the fact that the status of this issue is not resolved.
I'm Rob McConnell, host and executive producer of the X-Zone radio show. Now we are set to bring the amazing world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology to broadcast TV and online video with the development of X-Zone TV. X-Zone TV will now bring our loyal listeners and new viewers face to face with the most controversial and well-known personalities in the field of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. From scientists to theorists, astronauts to adventurers, celebrities, pundits, advocates, and naysayers, they'll all join our rapid-fire TV broadcast, interactive discussion, and debate. Interest in the paranormal and parapsychology has never been more intense, and it continues to grow. The truth is out there, so take a deep breath and join us as we step into the light. For more information about X-Zone TV, please contact me, Rob McConnell, directly at these coordinates, Rob McConnell at xzonetv.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Sandy Hart is my guest this hour here on the X-Zone. And first of all, Sandy, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here. It's always a delight and a pleasure talking to you, dear friend.
Thank you, Rob. I love being here. I love being with you.
Thank you. Let's talk about spirituality, humanity, and throw global change in for the mix. Do you believe that humanity is in a spiritual awakening, a crisis, or both?
Yeah. Oh no, our humanity is in crisis. There's no doubt about that. Anybody who with eyes and ears and a nervous system, knows that we are in crisis. All systems are failing. Like I said before the break, it's because the system doesn't serve us, and we recognize it finally. And those that are holding on to power with everything they got are really pushing the system because they know at some level that they haven't got much more time. And so, the reoccurring wars and trauma and conflicts and, the normalization of behaviors and patterns of that are just unfathomable are becoming more fathomable. And so what's happening at the same time, and this is pretty cool, is like I mentioned, that rise of frequency on the planet. It doesn't surprise me hearing what you said about, this perhaps in, the next month that we'll see an invasion of extraterrestrials, because everyone's using the language of, the veil is thinner now.
Yes.
I'm starting to see more now. I'm opening up now. I'm seeing beehives of drama that I ignored before. I'm able to be anchored while watching it and not being affected. We're really coming in a true understanding of who we are. Maybe that veil being lifted, they knew something about that, and they're like, now is a great time to get through the veil. But we're almost hoping, we have to get to that place of either we're going to do a quick turnabout, turn the ship around, which I don't see happening on a dime, because, like I said, we're in crisis right now, that we have to get through it on the other side of it. And that might be painful. And I was told this by an Indigenous elder 15 years ago. It's going to get harder before it gets better. And I'm hoping we've come to that place. So that, I hope we're budging to the other side. I don't know. We'll see. But I have faith, and I have to operate in this frequency of trust. That is all I can do is I do my advocacy, but all I can do is stand in my integrity.
And you do that very well, I might add.
Thank you.
Is this where we should all look at collective healing as a mass or a group, instead of working against each other? Instead of being part of the problem, we should be part of the solution?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Acknowledge if you are part of the problem, and stop and ask yourself, why am I part of the problem? What is it there? Yeah.
You were talking about the Indigenous person, the message that they gave you. So the American Indians, or the American natives, as well as the Canadian natives, we all have heard their stories, and they keep these stories alive, and a lot of these stories are related to healing trauma and building and understanding. Do you prescribe to this method?
Totally. Yeah, it's nature's way. They're earth-based, and they generally subscribe to the cosmos and the patterns of nature. So it makes really good sense. It absolutely does. You remind me something. At the Parliament of the World's Religions was held back in 2018 in Toronto, and I was on the Women's Task Force then. And the Indigenous Task Force leader, she told me on a phone call, medicine people are coming off their ancestral land in further up, into Canada, and I don't remember exactly where, for the first time in their entire history of being, the tribe, because they have important information to share with us. And it was that if we don't start looking around at nature and honoring and having reverence for nature, the nature of who we are and the nature for one another, we may not have hope. So yes, that collective healing can only start with me.
Whenever you're with me, time goes by so fast, and I would just like to talk a little bit about your books.
Okay.
And how can you can you share with our audience some of the books that you've written, and how they can help the audience members and the message behind them?
Thank you. The Liminal Odyssey and Your Liminal Odyssey, which is a practical guide into alchemizing, that which the book offers, but they both stand alone. One's a guidebook, one's the actual book, which it's described as a teaching memoir, but it really deserves its own genre, because it started out with this one story that happened to me in 1982. I think I've told it on your program before. And then I started recognizing the modalities and methodologies like sacred listening. That was really what made that story possible. And then I started writing about this story. And before I knew it, I had 12 stories, 12 different modalities that came from 12 different places. Lots of indigenous wisdom in here, science, psychology. There's so much that has been gifted to me that I'm like, this is where it belongs,
Right.
and told through real life vulnerable stories. So that's the Liminal Odyssey, and the guidebook, Your Liminal Odyssey. And I wrote a children's book that I am redoing now. It's out of print, called Make a Difference 101 for middle school kids. Step-by-step guide to making a difference.
That's great, because I truly believe that this lesson should be taught in schools. And as they grow up, and as we grow up, they share the message and we get the message out there. Sandy, I want to thank you very much. But before we say so long, what are your final thoughts, and what would you like the X-Zone Nation to leave with tonight after having the pleasure of listening to you here on the show?
Yeah, that's a great question. Be gentle with yourself. Honor yourself. Have reverence for yourself and your stories. Start writing your stories. There's so much there. It's such a gift. So that's the greatest reverence. And I think some things that'll come out of your pen will surprise you, and your soul will light up because it's being seen, and maybe for the first time.
Sandy Hart, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X-Zone.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, Sandy. And X-Zone Nation, our thanks to Sandy Hart for joining me tonight here, for sharing a light on the undeniable power of compassion, unity, and collective action. To learn more about her work, her books, and her global projects, visit www.sandyhart.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to find out more about us, what we do, xzoneradiotv.com. The X-Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and of course on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.